Hi everyone, I hope you're all well. You notice I've got pulled out the Bulldog paraphernalia from the Premiership in 2016. I thought I may as well get it out now because it could be a while before I get to get it out again. And for those who are interested, Victoria's done pretty well in the sports stakes with Melbourne Storm, Richmond and Geelong in the finals next weekend. Today I thought I'd talk a bit about weather forecasts for the next few months, reflect back on some drought recovery progress we've made. I'll touch briefly on the People Matter survey, and then I'm going to hand over to Jenny Gregory, who wants to talk a little bit about what's important in her area in organisational development. So just to start off, of course this time last year we were preparing ourselves for a phenomenally dry summer. Fire season was declared early and we were told to expect the unexpected. And you couldn't contrast this year. So just looking up there on my right hand side, the picture on the left with all the brown was what they were predicting in October last year, and that was record low levels of rain and high risk of bushfires, which certainly happened. And the picture on the right with all the blue is what they're predicting right now in October 2020 to expect the complete opposite, and that is with very high levels of rainfall. So we're in a La Nina. You might wonder what that means. Well, that picture explains what a La Nina means, and it's another set of challenges that we'll prepare for, and I'm sure we'll manage very well. Those challenges could include reduced revenue, of course, if it's raining, but also water quality challenges and wastewater treatment challenges from rainfall. Now that the COVID restrictions are easing a little, I was able to get out last week, and for the first time in quite some time, I went up to Orbost and caught up with the guys there. So I met Russell, Brett, Steve, Jeff and the new team member Trevor, and we had a nice chat. It got me thinking about the last time I was actually out and about out in the regional areas. That was back on the 11th and 12th of March when Mark McNeil and I visited Mallacoota with directors Steve Bird and Ian Gibson to catch up with the Mallacoota team. We inspected the damage caused to our infrastructure by the bushfires, and we were hosted by Daniel, Hans and Les. We were also joined by Tony Smith and Leanne Eadie, who were compiling the insurance claim. Also reflecting, I remember hearing the epic story of Hans van der Sant, who was on holidays at the time of the bushfires and made an extraordinary effort to get back to help Daniel and Les. He was in Geelong, I think, on holidays when the fires occurred. And because the roads had been closed, restricting access, he ended up driving back through Melbourne to Canberra and then eventually onto Eton, where he was able to talk his way onto a boat that was delivering some supplies back into Mallacoota and surprised everybody by turning up and was a welcome support for Daniel and Les. So amazing effort, Hans, and we won't be forgetting that one in a long time. The bushfire damage at Mallacoota alone was just over $1 million and around $2 million in total across the whole business. As we all know, Mallacoota wasn't the only town affected by the wildfires. In March, our board also visited Buchan and Orbost. We were joined by executive staff from DELP in Melbourne to tour the Buchan water treatment plant and for a barbecue with the Buchan community and BlazeAid representatives. We offered members of the public the opportunity to have a tour of the Buchan water treatment plant and meet our staff. This allowed them to learn how we undertook the massive task of treating the water that came from such a bushfire-contaminated catchment. The next day, our board toured the Orbost water treatment plant and held the board meeting in the chambers of the former Orbost Shire Council, with directors who were unable to travel down from Melbourne zooming in to participate. Just back in March, we thought Zoom was a bit of a novelty and it wouldn't catch on. Well, how wrong were we? Having senior DELP staff meet our board and see the damage firsthand and be walked through the challenges in treating a bushfire-affected water supply resulted in a positive outcome for East Gippsland Water. In July, we were advised that we were successful in obtaining a grant of $664,000 towards the silt busters in Cairn River and Bem River. I'm also pleased to say that last week I signed a funding agreement for us to receive a $1.3 million grant that will be used towards the construction of a new water tank in Buchan, as well as treatment upgrades in Omeo and Mallacoota, and a SCADA network upgrade. So this is a great result from the board's advocacy, and thanks to all those staff who contribute in some way or form in helping us achieve these great outcomes. So there's some positive outcomes in relation to drought recovery funding. Just before I hand over to Jenny Gregory, I wanted to touch on the People Matters survey. It's a shorter survey this year. I think the message has gone out. It closes at the end of the month on the 30th of October. And I encourage you to please complete the survey. It does take 10 or 15 minutes, but it's important because it gives us an idea of how you're travelling at home. The focus this year is on well-being, particularly around the COVID isolation. So all of your responses will be welcome, and that'll help us to plan and provide resources and support to you. So I'm going to hand over to Jenny. I know she's a little nervous about doing the video presentation, as we all are. It's very unusual times for us all doing these sorts of things. So over to Jenny, and she'll talk a little bit about what's happening in her area. All the best and take care.
Thanks, Steve. Not sure that I should say thank you, but yes, it's a great opportunity to say hello to all of those that I haven't had the chance to see face to face over the last few months. I hope it's all going well. I appreciate that this time is not an easy one for everyone. And in fact, that's what I want to talk about, is the fact that this month is Mental Health Month. It's appropriate and good timing that we take the time to think about ourselves, our loved ones, our customers, and the community in which we live, work and play. What I'd like to talk about is, first and foremost, please don't forget to check your emails, particularly those of you that are out in the field and doing things and don't necessarily get the time to come in and log on and have a look at your email. I'd love you to do that, because last week we sent out one that talked about mental health. We talked about the things that were available to you and to your families around understanding what mental health is, why it's important, particularly in this sort of time, and how you actually recognise the signs that if someone is doing it tough, if someone is suffering from stress or burnout or anxiety or depression or just sheer straight stress, how do you know? What do you do? Do you pretend that it isn't there? Do you ignore it? Do you try and say something and not know what to say? If you're concerned about someone and you're not sure, who do you contact? What resources are available to you? All of that is documented in the email that we sent out from HR last week. And if you need a copy of it, then again, come back to anybody in HR or OD and ask them for another copy. Chelsea will also be sending out one this week. And this week it will talk about, the message, are you okay? Well, what happens if someone actually says, I'm not okay? How do you respond to that? How do you deal with that? And again, we've provided some resources, some tips, some tools, some techniques about how you can care for the people around you, for yourself, importantly, for your family, for your loved ones. Again, that information is all in there for you. The following week, it'll be about, well, how can I improve my mental health? What are the things that I can do to keep me going? And there'll be lots of webinars, podcasts, tips and tricks on exercise and nutrition, because whilst we're talking mental health, your physical health is absolutely part of that. And we want you to be able to continue coming to work, enjoy what you do, and be able to go back and enjoy time with your family. When COVID restrictions lift, that will mean at least then we will be able to go and visit our loved ones that we can't necessarily get to at the moment. And so based on that, if you're having those long distance conversations and you are concerned about your family members or your friends, then these emails and the information contained in them are there to actually assist you to hopefully make it a bit easier for you. And the final email that we'll be sending out this month will relate to the fact that we are part of the government initiative called Leading the Way, which has a focus on health and safety, but very importantly, mental health and safety. And we'll be consulting with the management team and the ECC and all of our teams and employees around a mental health and wellbeing charter that actually provides the guidelines and sets up the framework for how we will manage those sorts of issues in the workplace going forward. So that's enough about me. As you know, for most of you that have to put up with me in meetings, I can talk with a mouthful of marbles underwater, but I'm not a fan of the video stuff. So I will sign off, say goodbye, and enjoy the rest of your day.